Nobody expected the night to end like this. Nobody anticipated that T.I., the calm, collected, legendary king of the South, renowned for his composure under pressure, his strategic mind, and his ability to navigate both the streets and the spotlight with unshakable poise, would explode in a raw, unfiltered, almost primal way on camera. The public knew him as the wise elder, the man who had faced countless battles and emerged stronger, measured, and morally upright. But beneath the public persona of the reformed mogul, there simmered the protective instincts of a father who had exhausted every method, every warning, every conversation, and found himself pushed to the edge. The trigger came in the form of his son, King Harris, whose reckless behavior had been escalating for months, teetering on the edge of dangerous and destructive. King, despite all the guidance, all the warnings, and all the lessons handed down by his father and mother, Tiny, finally crossed a line that no one could ignore. It wasn't a simple act of teenage rebellion, a clout-chasing stunt, or a viral challenge gone wrong. It was a moment that imperiled the entire Harris family, a dangerous game that exposed them to threats far beyond the safe confines of their public image. The breaking point was captured live on social media, a medium that amplifies every misstep and magnifies every consequence. King, emboldened by his digital persona, had been boasting, taunting, and flirting with danger in ways that made insiders' stomachs turn. He laughed off potential consequences, challenged authority, and flaunted audacious bravado, as if the online world could shield him from real-world fallout. The streaming platform that he treated as a stage became a trap. Every word, every gesture, every careless comment sent ripples through the family, the industry, and beyond. And in that instant, T.I. snapped, not in a blind rage, not in calculated performance, but in a surge of protective fury that could not be contained. As cameras rolled, capturing what would soon become a viral phenomenon, T.I. lunged toward his son, grabbing him by the back of the neck and pushing him back with deliberate force. The gesture was shocking to anyone who had only ever known T.I. as composed and measured. The fury in his eyes wasn't anger at the disrespect or the showmanship. It was raw terror, an almost palpable fear for what his son had just unleashed. The crowd of onlookers, friends, and family around them froze. Even the siblings, who had watched King's antics escalate, recoiled, sensing the gravity of the moment before understanding its full implications. The clip spread like wildfire across social media almost immediately. Fans stopped scrolling. Comment sections erupted. Analysts replayed it obsessively, dissecting every motion, every word, every flicker of expression. Millions witnessed a father at the breaking point, confronting the consequences of a lifetime of choices and missteps that had all culminated in this instant. It was a display of authority, love, fear, and desperation all rolled into one. A chaotic, unscripted intervention that no one could ignore. King's actions that night weren't mere youthful mischief. They were reckless, dangerous, and life-altering. Sources close to the family described the situation as one that didn't just embarrass the Harris name. It actively invited real-world threats. The stakes were tangible. Individuals with influence, connections, and reputations for enforcing consequences had reportedly been drawn to the situation through King's public actions. The network of danger was immediate and undeniable. T.I. knew it. Tiny knew it. Even the siblings reportedly felt the dread ripple through their household. Prior to the live confrontation, T.I. had attempted every method a father could employ. He began with quiet, personal discussions, attempting to reach his son through reason and empathy. He tried patience, emphasizing lessons learned through his own life experiences, street knowledge, the value of reputation, the hazards of poor choices, and the importance of safeguarding family. When that didn't work, he escalated to tougher interventions, stern warnings, clearly defined consequences, revocation of privileges, and, eventually, grounding. Counseling and professional guidance were suggested, offered, and encouraged. Every measure was taken to prevent the spiral from reaching a point where intervention would need to be physical. But nothing stuck. King seemed fueled not just by attention but by the intensity of the spotlight itself. Positive reinforcement, public praise, or even criticism seemed to serve only to feed his energy. He craved reaction, engagement, and recognition, often blurring the line between bravado and recklessness. His live streams became a stage for provocation, his social media a gauntlet of defiance. Behind closed doors, T.I. and Tiny watched as their interventions failed, their worry intensifying as the stakes escalate. The night of the eruption was the culmination of months of tension, warning, and mounting fear. King had apparently become entangled in activities that were not only dangerous but irreversible. According to sources, it could have been a shady association, a risky street-level stunt, or a clout-chasing attempt that brought him into contact with individuals who operated outside the law, outside of social norms, and outside forgiveness. Whatever the specifics, the outcome was immediate. Real threats emerged, and the Harris family, despite wealth, fame, and influence, was vulnerable in a way they hadn't been before. Tiny reportedly broke down upon learning the scope of the danger. Her anguish wasn't just maternal, it was strategic, as she recognized the practical ramifications of her son's actions on the family's safety and legacy. T.I., seasoned by years of navigating street-level hazards, understood instantly. This wasn't a situation that could be solved with conversation, guidance, or social media statements. This was a crisis that demanded immediate, decisive action. When T.I. arrived at the scene, King was live streaming, oblivious to the severity of his situation. The digital facade of invincibility that King had cultivated was crumbling in real time. Viewers could see a son confident, brazen, and utterly unaware, projecting fearlessness while the weight of real danger bore down from every angle. T.I., armed with fear, disappointment, and the instinct to protect, confronted him. The calm, measured tone that had defined T.I.'s public persona vanished. In its place emerged a father's raw, urgent voice, a voice that sought to halt a spiral before it consumed them all. Initially, T.I. attempted dialogue. He urged reason, implored awareness, and tried to convey the gravity of the threats encroaching on their family. But King, emboldened by defiance, dismissed every warning, shrugged off every plea, and spoke words that shattered the last thread of patience. Insiders later revealed that King's defiance included statements like, "You can't control me. I ain't scared of nobody." That defiance was a spark that ignited the inevitable confrontation. The moment T.I. reached for his son was not blind aggression, it was intervention. The grip on the back of King's neck, firm and inescapable, was meant to stop him from speaking further, from acting recklessly, and from endangering the family further. It forced eye contact. It demanded comprehension. The physical act was a manifestation of years of suppressed fear, frustration, and love. T.I.'s voice, low, urgent, and tense, conveyed a truth far beyond the video's frame. You don't even know who you just played with. Not what you did, who. Those words hinted at unseen consequences, unseen adversaries, and a reality that King had yet to understand. The footage of the confrontation circulated globally, sparking debate and division. Some viewers criticized the physicality, arguing that no parent should lay hands on a child, regardless of circumstances. Others defended T.I., recognizing the act as a desperate measure to prevent a far graver disaster. The clip became a cultural flashpoint, sparking conversation not just about the individuals involved, but about the universal pressures of parenting, fame, and legacy. Behind the scenes, the Harris family entered damage control mode. Insiders reported a tense household, constant monitoring of communications, and a strategic approach to both public perception and private safety. The siblings, though not directly involved in King's actions, were reportedly affected psychologically by the fear and tension. The stakes extended beyond personal embarrassment. They involved tangible danger, potential legal implications, and threats to family security. King Harris's trajectory in recent months had been a slow burn toward disaster. Parties escalated out of control, conflicts became public spectacles, and online behavior amplified real-world risk. He sought influence through provocation, measuring clout not by achievements or skill, but by the intensity of chaos he could generate. The combination of entitlement, visibility, and reckless daring created a volatile environment, one that drew the attention of people who do not forgive slights or mistakes lightly. T.I., despite years of experience in conflict management, recognized the signs immediately. The live confrontation marked a decisive pivot. The moment of physical intervention was coupled with a verbal warning that underscored the seriousness of the situation. Sources report that T.I.'s words conveyed a sense of irrevocable consequence, not punishment for misbehavior, but a stark, unambiguous reality check. King's actions had set into motion forces that even his father could not fully control, and T.I.'s grip was meant to halt further escalation, at least temporarily. In the aftermath, the family reportedly reevaluated their approach to social media, personal interactions, and public exposure. The incident illuminated the fragility of reputation and safety in the age of digital permanence. A single misstep, captured live and broadcast instantly, could amplify consequences far beyond expectation. Even someone as seasoned and resourceful as T.I. was forced to adapt quickly, balancing public perception, private safety, and the emotional well-being of his children. Observers noted that this confrontation represented a complex intersection of love, fear, authority, and survival. T.I.'s actions were not about asserting dominance. They were about preventing disaster, protecting family, and instilling a lesson that could not be conveyed with words alone. The intensity captured on camera reflected a father confronting the limits of patience, the consequences of deferred discipline, and the existential risks of allowing reckless behavior to continue unchecked. Insiders suggest that King's awareness of danger remained minimal even after the incident. The realization of threat, responsibility, and consequence often arrives incrementally, and in his case, the confrontation may serve as the first step toward understanding. For T.I., the episode was a reminder that even those who have navigated life's harshest realities cannot shield their children indefinitely. Intervention, sometimes forceful, becomes necessary when stakes are existential. In the public eye, the narrative was rapidly fragmented. Clips were shared, analyzed, and turned into commentary across media outlets, social platforms, and fan communities. Memes, debates, and think pieces proliferated, but beneath the viral spectacle lay the real story. A family facing internal chaos, public scrutiny, and imminent danger, all converging in a single, unforgettable moment. T.I.'s intervention also illuminated a broader theme about parenting in the digital age. Fame and visibility amplify risk, erode privacy, and intensify every misstep. The confrontation underscored the challenges of guiding a child who navigates both personal growth and public exposure, and the profound emotional toll that balancing protection, discipline, and love can exact. As the weeks unfolded, the Harris household reportedly remained on high alert. Security protocols were enhanced, communications were monitored closely, and interactions with external parties were carefully managed. The family, while publicly maintaining composure, privately grappled with the consequences of King's actions and the ripple effects that could extend far beyond their immediate circle. Through it all, T.I.'s role as protector remained clear. The physicality of the confrontation was not aggression for aggression's sake. It was the last resort of a father who had tried every other option. It was an embodiment of love, fear, and responsibility converging at the precise moment when delay could have proven catastrophic. The eyes of the world may have seen anger, but those within the family understood it as intervention, necessity, and the harsh reality of parenting in extraordinary circumstances. This incident, while shocking in its immediate presentation, will likely be studied in the context of family dynamics, celebrity culture, and the intersection of digital exposure and real-world consequence. It serves as a case study in how quickly youthful recklessness can escalate, how parental intervention is sometimes unavoidable, and how the stakes for high-profile families are magnified exponentially. By the end of that night, one thing was clear. T.I., despite years of experience, patience, and strategic thinking, had reached a limit. His son had provoked forces he could not ignore. The grip on King's neck, firm and protective, symbolized the desperation, the urgency, and the enduring principle that family safety sometimes demands action over caution, intervention over observation, and love over comfort. The Harris family's story, caught in a single viral clip, became a cautionary tale about boundaries, consequences, and the fragile intersection of fame, youth, and danger. It illustrated that even legendary figures, kings in their domain, are ultimately human, capable of fear, capable of fury, and capable of acting decisively when the stakes exceed all other considerations. In this moment, the legend of T.I. was tested in a way the public rarely sees. Not through music, not through industry influence, but through the raw, unfiltered dynamics of family, responsibility, and the imperative to protect. The incident is a vivid reminder that sometimes, even kings must act with ferocity, not for ego, not for spectacle, but for love. Nobody anticipated the night ending like this. T.I., the calm, collected, legendary king of the South, known for navigating streets and studios alike with unshakable poise, erupted in a moment of raw, protective fury. The viral clip would make it look like anger, perhaps an overreaction, but what few understood was the storm behind it. A father confronting a real, immediate threat trick, aired by his son's recklessness. The spark was King Harris. He had been testing limits for months, pushing boundaries online, in the streets, and within the family. But that night he crossed a line that jeopardized everyone around him. T.I. didn't lecture, didn't threaten, didn't attempt calm reasoning first. He reacted instantly, as a man who knew the consequences of inaction. Pushing King back, locking eyes with him, T.I. said, "You just put this entire house at risk." Those words, few though they were, encapsulated the gravity. It wasn't about King's reputation, social media clout, or gossip columns. It was about the family's survival. King shrugged it off, his usual cocky dismissiveness on display. He attempted to walk away, laughing off the tension as if it were another minor spat, just another argument he could spin or meme into a joke. But then a voice from off-camera sliced through the space. "King, you don't know what you've done." The room froze. King halted mid-step. T.I.'s anger shifted, morphing into something colder, fear. At that exact moment, confirmation arrived. A message, a warning, a direct threat from the person King had provoked online. Tiny's voice cracked from another room, urgent and trembling. "Tip, handle it." A sibling appeared in the background, tears streaming, visibly shaken. Security edged closer, muscles taut, eyes scanning. King's bravado began to fracture as the energy shifted from heated argument to genuine crisis. T.I., staring into his son's eyes, spoke with quiet intensity. "Your words don't just affect you. They affect all of us. And now someone's coming." The internet dissected the viral clip, seeing only anger, a father lashing out. What they missed was the shadow looming behind the words, a real imminent danger that made T.I., who had survived streets and boardrooms for decades, react without concern for cameras or optics. This wasn't punishment for show. It was protection against a line that should never have been crossed. And in that moment, King seemed to grasp, perhaps for the first time, that his actions had real, uncontrollable consequences. The shift in the room was palpable the instant T.I.'s hand made contact. No sudden movements, no dramatic gestures, just tension thickening with fear, anger, betrayal, and the crushing awareness that the stakes had escalated far beyond a typical family argument. King hadn't embarrassed himself online. He hadn't sparked another internet feud. He had provoked someone with real power, someone T.I. knew personally, someone connected, dangerous, and unforgiving. T.I. didn't care who was filming. He acted because the storm had already begun rolling in. King still seemed confused, irritated, offended. He tugged at the hold, brushing off the warnings as exaggerations. T.I., unmoved, shoved him back just enough to demand attention, gripping him firmly, and hissed, "You think this is a game? You think these people play with kids?" The first real fracture in King's armor of invincibility appeared. His eyes widened. Before he could respond, the off-camera voice warned again. "King, you don't understand who you pissed off." Emphasis on who landed like a hammer. This wasn't about online clout anymore. It was real-world danger, immediate and precise. The room's tension escalated as someone off-screen held up a phone. "We just got another message," they announced. Not a casual DM, not a troll comment, a direct, targeted communication. King froze, T.I. froze. Even the person holding the phone seemed to hold their breath. This wasn't a bluff. It was a calculated escalation from someone who had been watching every reckless step King took. Hours earlier, the events had started innocently enough, or so King thought. He had gone live on Instagram, ranting in his signature style, targeting someone he considered irrelevant. Trash talk turned into forbidden territory, personal attacks, unverified accusations, and insults no one should have aired publicly. Fans begged him to stop, pleading in the comments, "Bro, stop. Delete this now. You're putting yourself in danger." But King laughed, mocked concern, and doubled down. The live feed ended abruptly, not because King stopped, but because the person he provoked sent a direct, chilling message. "Say it again." Ego intact, King fired back. "You ain't going to do nothing." That was the tipping point. Within minutes, the family's group chat erupted. Tiny frantically called T.I. siblings panicked. Security issued urgent alerts. Someone pounded on King's door, demanding he come downstairs immediately. King, still oblivious, treated it as an overblown internet feud, filming himself on the way down, until T.I. grabbed the phone. That grab marked the start of the clip the world would later see. T.I. demanded if King even understood who he had addressed. King shrugged. "Some dude trying to act hard." T.I.'s response was instant. He slammed King against the wall, hissing, "That man ain't acting. He's connected T." "Oh, people who can touch you anywhere." Silence fell. Then King's sister burst in, phone shaking. "Daddy, they texted me too." The threat had escalated. It wasn't just King, it was the entire family. The message read clearly, "He wants to play grown. Then all of you can feel what grown feels like." The air turned cold. T.I.'s expression hardened, fear masked as resolve. Tiny's voice followed, trembling but firm. "This is why I told you to stay away from those people." King's bravado finally faltered as reality hit. This wasn't a fleeting internet spat. It was deliberate, targeted retaliation. Another message confirmed the sender's reach, intent, and precision. It wasn't vague, it was personal. It went far beyond words on a screen. Whoever this was had been watching in real time, tracking every syllable King had uttered. They weren't bluffing. They weren't reacting impulsively. They were executing a plan, and the Harris family had been drawn into it. King's phone lit up with a final message that made him physically recoil. "We're already close." That line shattered what remained of his composure. T.I. snapped, not out of blind rage, but from the crushing realization that his son's recklessness had invited surveillance directly into their home. The house no longer felt like a sanctuary. It felt like a pressure cooker, ready to detonate. Everyone inside, the siblings, Tiny, even security, sensed it. King had crossed into territory where apologies, explanations, and online statements couldn't reverse what had been set in motion. This was no longer social media drama. This was real danger seeping through the cracks of their front door. King repeated the same desperate question over and over. "What did I do? What did I do?" The answer wasn't simple. The act itself wasn't the only problem. It was who had witnessed it, who had felt personally disrespected, and who had power to retaliate. T.I., the father, the public figure, the strategist, and the man who had navigated the intersections of streets and fame, understood the depth of the threat instantly. The viral clip captured the moment, but it didn't convey the prelude. The hours of warnings, the family's frantic coordination, the messages pouring in, and the chilling realization that King had painted a target on the Harris family. The footage only hinted at the fear, urgency, and raw protective instinct driving T.I.'s actions. T.I. stood over King, holding him steady. The weight of every choice, every warning ignored, every risk King had taken bore down on both of them. "You brought real danger home," T.I. said, 5 words that landed like hammer blows. King's smirk, jokes, and laughter evaporated. For the first time, he looked truly terrified, stripped of bravado, facing the tangible consequences of impulsive actions amplified by fame and visibility. The nightmare didn't end there. The family huddled in the living room, terrified, emotional, seeking comfort in one another. A voicemail King had missed earlier played through the speakers, coming from a blocked number. It mirrored his live stream words delivered back in a mocking tone. "You ain't scared. Good, keep that same energy." The room froze. Whoever this was hadn't guessed. They had watched, recorded, and responded with precision. The full scope of what King had done, who he provoked, and the potential fallout remained largely unknown to the public. But inside the Harris household, fear was undeniable. Security tightened, communications were monitored, and plans shifted on the fly. King, stripped of illusion, stared at the wreckage his words had caused. The viral clip only captured a fraction. The real story was a father's desperate, instinctive effort to shield his family from consequences that could have been catastrophic. T.I.'s actions weren't about ego, viral moments, or controlling a child. They were about survival, protection, and urgent intervention. The house, once a sanctuary, felt like a battlefield. Every message, every notification, every knock on the door reminded them that the online world could reach offline reality with terrifying speed. King whispered again, trembling, "Dad, what did I do?" T.I. met his son's gaze, voice steady but heavy. "You brought real danger home." And for the first time, King truly understood. The walls of the Harris family, built on fame, success, and influence, had been breached, not by enemies in the industry or critics online, but by the recklessness of a son who had misjudged power, attention, and consequence. In that room, cameras captured anger, frustration, and tension. What they didn't capture was the shadow behind it, the very real threat that could not be laughed off, deleted, or muted. The viral footage would live on as entertainment to the outside world. For the Harrises, it was a lesson, a wake-up call, and a brush with danger that no one would forget. T.I. didn't react for show. He reacted because the storm had arrived, and he refused to let it sweep through his family. Why? T.I. wasn't yelling anymore. That was the most terrifying part. When his voice went quiet, controlled, deliberate, razor-sharp, the room fell into a deeper kind of panic. Everyone knew then that this had escalated far beyond a typical father-son spat or viral clip. His jaw was clenched, his breathing heavy and measured, like a predator sizing up the threat before him. Tiny paced the hallway, phone pressed to her ear, voice trembling as she whispered urgent instructions to someone she trusted. All the while, she tried to shield the younger children from the sheer fear written across her face. King Harris, for once stripped of bravado, looked like a kid who had just realized fire burns after setting the house ablaze. His usual smirk, that defiant energy he carried into every live stream, had disappeared entirely. Every ounce of confidence he had projected online evaporated as the reality of the situation sank in. Then T.I.'s phone vibrated again. The whole room froze because this wasn't just another text or a social media notification. It was a video. The subtle anxiety that had been building for hours crystallized into pure dread. T.I. opened it, his eyes widening slightly, though he made no sound. Silently, he passed the phone to King. The color drained from King's face in seconds. The footage was of their own home, driveway, front yard, security gate, all captured from a car parked just far enough away to remain hidden, yet close enough to make a statement impossible to ignore. The whisper on the video repeated the earlier threat. "We told you we were close." Tiny screamed. One of King's siblings collapsed into tears. The security guard muttered curses under his breath and moved toward the windows, scanning for movement outside. T.I. snatched the phone back from King's trembling hands. This wasn't just a threat anymore, it was surveillance. Calculated, cold, precise intimidation. The message was clear. We can reach you, all of you. And the most chilling part, whoever this was had been there for hours, silently watching before anyone even knew something was wrong. T.I. turned toward King, his voice low, almost shaking with restrained fury. He grabbed his son by the shoulders, forcing him to meet his eyes. "Do you understand now?" he asked. "Do you see what you've done? This is why I told you over and over to stay away from these people." King's voice barely escaped his lips, trembling. I didn't know who he was." T.I.'s expression darkened. The room's atmosphere thickened with tension. What he revealed next peeled back the darkest layer of the situation. The man King had mocked on live stream, the one he had dismissed as a joke, a nobody, was far from irrelevant. He was someone with deep, dangerous ties, connections T.I. had worked tirelessly to distance himself from, and more importantly, to shield his family from. This was not a random online personality. This was a man whose influence extended far beyond Atlanta, someone who didn't settle disputes with clapbacks or viral drama. He handled them personally, quietly, permanently. When T.I. spoke the name aloud, the room went deathly silent. Even King gasped, recognition hitting him like a physical blow. He had insulted someone whose reputation could silence grown men. A man who didn't make empty threats, he delivered on them. And that wasn't the end of it. As T.I. replayed archived footage of King's live stream to piece together the timeline, a horrifying detail emerged. A username had appeared in the viewer list almost immediately before King even started his trash talk. It wasn't a random fan. It was a known burner account directly linked to the man King had provoked. He had joined the live on purpose. He had waited patiently. He had listened. And he had baited King into crossing the line. Eager for attention, King had taken the bait without hesitation. This wasn't random fallout. This wasn't an accident. This was premeditated. King's phone buzzed again. He couldn't bring himself to look. T.I. grabbed it, checked the screen, and pressed play. The incoming voice message sent a chill through the entire room. "Your boy wants to play grown man games, so let's see how he handles grown man consequences." Then came the line that made T.I. swallow hard. "I'm not coming for the boy. I'm coming for the man who raised him to think he could disrespect me." The target had shifted. They weren't coming after King anymore. They were coming for T.I. Everything changed in that moment. The situation had escalated from a son's impulsive mouth to a father's legacy, his entire family's safety, and years of personal history that had been carefully kept under wraps. This wasn't about teenage ego or one live stream mistake anymore. This was old tension, long buried, weaponized because King had unknowingly handed it the perfect spark. T.I. immediately ordered everyone into the living room. Security double-checked every lock, every window. Guards monitored every camera Eid scanning for anomalies. Tiny whispered over and over, "This is getting out of control. This is getting out of control." Another message arrived, this one containing a photo. It wasn't of King or any family member. It was a street corner, a parking lot tied directly to one of T.I.'s old business dealings. The sender had no legitimate reason to know this location unless they had dug deep, very deep. The accompanying text read, "Meet me tomorrow alone, or the next message won't be a picture." Podcasters cleared their schedules and dedicated full episodes to dissecting the leaked footage. They asked the questions everyone else was whispering. Did King accidentally expose himself to gang politics? Is T.I. being extorted behind the scenes? Who exactly sent those chilling threats straight to the family group chat? Why, for the first time anyone could remember, did T.I., the unflappable king of the South, look genuinely scared, not just angry? Meanwhile, Instagram detectives went full forensic mode. They scoured King's old live streams, hunting for any breadcrumb that might explain the explosion. They eventually unearthed the exact rant that ignited everything. King talking tough, throwing insults at a mystery man acting untouchable. But something eerie happened as soon as people tried to share that original clip. Every repost vanished almost instantly, deleted, flagged, muted, blocked. Accounts got temporary suspensions for trying to circulate it. The suppression was so thorough, it only poured gasoline on the conspiracy theories. Who was actively protecting the original rant from spreading? Why go to such lengths to bury the footage? This clearly wasn't ordinary internet beef. This felt coordinated, powerful, bigger than any viral scandal. Mainstream blogs and gossip outlets piled on quickly. Hollywood Unlocked ran the headline. T.I. and family received direct threat after King's explosive live stream. The Shade Room's comment sections overflowed with concern. This ain't no internet drama anymore. This is terrifying. TMZ went further, reporting, T.I. seen physically restraining King amid rumored gang-related threat. Even sports pages and political commentators weighed in, puzzled by why a celebrity family was suddenly behaving like they were under siege. But the most unsettling reactions came from inside the music industry itself. A well-known producer tweeted and then immediately deleted, "There are certain people you never mention by name." King mentioned one. The post lasted less than 5 minutes, but screenshots spread like wildfire. Someone reportedly from T.I.'s own distant past dropped a cryptic line, "This is why OGs tell the young ones to keep quiet." Another insider posted anonymously, "Tip been keeping his distance from some dudes for decades. King just reopened a door Tip spent years locking." Fans latched onto that phrase, "reopened a door," and began speculating wildly. Was this tied to old Atlanta street rivalries, underground dealings from T.I.'s early days? Someone from the streets, rather than the polished industry. TikTok turned into a theory factory. Creators stitched together voice comparisons from the leaked voicemail, slowed-down audio breakdowns of off-camera screams, frame-by-frame analyses of facial expressions. Everyone speculated that King had insulted someone with major, untouchable ties, someone whose name alone carried weight. Then came the reaction that truly stopped the internet in its tracks. Tiny, who had remained mostly silent through the chaos, posted a simple black screen with 6 stark words, "Pray for my family tonight." No emojis, no explanation, no follow-up, just raw vulnerability. The comments exploded instantly. What happened? Are y'all safe? Did the man show up? Is T.I. okay? She didn't reply to a single one. Moments later, Zanique, visibly shaken in a quick story, posted her own message. "This went way too far. Way too far." That simple repetition became a viral refrain. If the mother was begging for prayers and the daughter was admitting things had spiraled beyond control, if T.I. had physically grabbed his son on camera in desperation, then whatever was happening off-screen was monumental. The final gut punch came when one of Atlanta's most respected OGs, someone known for staying out of public drama, went live unexpectedly. He spoke slowly, deliberately. If you know who King was talking to, then you know T.I. right to be terrified. The chat flooded. Who is it? Say his name. What did King say? Is T.I. in danger? The OG refused to name anyone. Instead, he delivered one line that sent chills through millions watching. "I value staying alive." He ended the stream immediately. That sentence alone triggered mass hysteria. People dug up decade-old interviews, resurfaced ancient rumors, replayed forgotten beefs, hunted for any video that might hint at the mystery man's identity. Yet every person who seemed to know the real story spoke in circles, hinting, wah. Arning alluding, but never naming him outright. The silence spoke volumes. This man was powerful enough that even seasoned veterans feared saying his name in public. By the end of that night, one question dominated trending topics worldwide. What happens at the meeting tomorrow? Leaked rumors had already confirmed it. T.I. had agreed to meet the man privately, alone, at the location specified in the threatening photo. Fans flooded every platform begging him not to go. "Tip, stay home. This is a setup. They're going to record you. You ain't got to meet nobody. Bring security at least." But insiders close to the situation said T.I. was going regardless. He felt he had no choice. The threat had shifted. It wasn't just about King anymore. It was aimed at the entire family, and refusing could make things exponentially worse. Nobody in the industry expected T.I. to walk away from that meeting unchanged. Whatever was said, whatever demands were made, whatever secrets were exposed would reshape the rest of this saga and potentially destroy lives. The morning of the meeting didn't feel like morning. The sun rose over Atlanta, but inside the Harris home, everything felt cold, dark, heavy, like the entire world was holding its breath. T.I. barely slept. Tiny didn't sleep at all. King didn't utter a single word from the moment he opened his eyes. The house moved in hushed, mechanical silence, as if everyone understood this day could alter everything forever. T.I. came downstairs dressed simply. All black, no jewelry, no chains, no flash. Just a plain hoodie, dark jeans, and the haunted expression of a man walking knowingly into danger. Panic overtook King. He grabbed T.I.'s arm. "Dad, don't go, I'm sorry, I didn't know, I swear I didn't know." But T.I. didn't speak. He studied the photo, jaw locked, eyes dark and calculating. He recognized instantly that it wasn't just a casual meeting spot, it could be a trap. Refusing could escalate the situation. Going alone was risky. Every option carried danger. The family watched in stunned silence as T.I. walked toward his office and closed the door behind him. The click of the latch echoed like a finality, sealing the moment. King collapsed, sobbing, whispering, "I didn't mean for this. I didn't know I was putting you in danger." Tiny's voice cut through, sharp with fear and anger. "You didn't just put him in danger, King. You put all of us in danger." T.I. remained in the office for nearly an hour. No one knew who he called, what arrangements he made, or what contingencies he prepared. When he finally emerged, he looked like a man who had already accepted the weight of the storm. He walked straight to King, placed a heavy hand on his shoulder, and spoke quietly but with unyielding resolve. "You want it to be grown. Tomorrow, you're going to see what grown really looks like." The leaked footage ended there, but insiders report the story escalated far beyond what the video captured. The meeting, the conversations, the explicit threats, the dredging of old wounds and revived grudges were exponentially worse than the public could imagine. The danger wasn't over. It had only begun. When the clip went viral, the neck grab, the panic, the fear, the internet didn't merely react. It detonated. Every platform, every comment section, every trending topic exploded with shock, speculation, and debate. On Twitter, now X, reactions poured in. Tib snapped. King got his dad in real danger. You can see the fear on everyone's face. What did King do? This isn't normal discipline. Someone threatening the whole Harris family is crazy. The video circulated hundreds of thousands of times within hours. Fans slowed it down frame by frame, zoomed in on expressions, dissected every glance. Some focused on T.I.'s barely restrained fury. Others zeroed in on King's terrified, wide-eyed realization. But what haunted everyone most was the off-camera voice screaming, "King, you don't know what you've done." That single line sparked hashtags, memes, and endless speculation. Even celebrities weighed in, amplifying the chaos. A prominent Atlanta rapper posted, "If Tip reacted like that on camera, something serious is going down behind the scenes." The internet saw fragments, a father's outburst, a son's panic, family fear, but it couldn't see the full shadow behind it. An old score reopened, a trap laid patiently, surveillance already in place, and a family confronting consequences that fame or money couldn't protect against. Another artist added, "King been wilding too long. He might have crossed the wrong dude." That captured the collective understanding. King's reckless pattern had finally collided with someone who didn't play games. Even comedians, usually quick to turn tragedy into humor, sounded genuinely unnerved. One posted, "Man, if T.I. isn't joking around, somebody really dangerous is involved. I'd be in church praying extra hard." Humor was there, but fear was unmistakable. Inside the Harris household, the tension lingered long after the clip ended. Security measures tightened. Cameras monitored every corner. Phones were checked repeatedly. The family, once insulated by fame and fortune, realized how vulnerable they truly were. Every notification, every knock on the door, every unknown message could escalate the situation further. King finally sat, head in hands, staring blankly at the floor. For the first time, he fully grasped the magnitude of his mistake. This wasn't just a viral stunt, a social media misstep, or a reckless moment of teenage arrogance. This was a full-scale threat aimed not just at him, but at the father who raised him, the mother who nurtured him, and the siblings who had done nothing to provoke danger. T.I., standing nearby, exuded a terrifying calm. He was a man who had faced adversaries, industry feuds, and street violence. And yet now, his most personal battle was protecting his family from consequences born out of ignorance and impulsive pride. Every decision he made in the next hours would be a blend of experience, instinct, and calculated risk. The leaked footage captured a fraction of the terror, but the reality was far more brutal. The Harrises weren't just managing viral fame, they were navigating a tangible threat that could touch every corner of their lives. The combination of online recklessness and real-world power had set a dangerous collision course, and the consequences were already unfolding. Even as the world dissected the clip for entertainment, the family knew this was survival, not drama. Every text, every knock, every message, every unseen observer mattered. The clock was ticking, and King, for the first time, understood that the repercussions of his words extended far beyond likes, shares, and comments. They had real, terrifying, and irreversible consequences.